This is basically a lesson on word arrangement, how you complement a verb. So ultimately you need to know how to arrange your words if you're going to be understood, especially in a PTE test or an IELTS test in a speaking or writing section, or just generally. So in this video we're going to be talking about mainly verbs and how they're complemented. But before we do that, we need to make sure that we understand that verbs can be categorized into two places. On the left you've got the mental category, and on the right you've got situational. So language and verbs can be categorized in these two ways, either mental language or situational. So what does that mean? Basically, mental language happens in your mind. That is the landscape in which the language occurs, in the mind. And situational language happens in physical time and physical place, which basically means the grammar, the syntax is different for each of these categories. So let's have a look at some examples of mental verbs and situational verbs. Okay, on the left are the mental examples, and on the right we've got situational examples. So what we should do now is translate the mental verbs into your language. Let's start with understand. In English we would not say I'm understanding, because the verb understand happens in the mind, not in time and not in place outside the mind, in the environment. It happens in the mind. So the be-ing structure doesn't work with this word. If you translate the word understand into your own language, you will see that in every language it's the same. Nobody says I'm understanding in any language. However you express temporal action, you will see that this is true of the word understand in every language. It's also true of many words that are connected to emotion, but there are some mental verbs where you can place the verb into a situation. For example, wonder or consider or decide. But most mental verbs occur in the mind only, and therefore you have to use specific grammar and syntax with these words. But we will have a good list at the end of the video for you to take a screenshot of, so that you can take it with you for help with your PTE written and spoken tests, or IELTS, or just in general. Okay, so ultimately we're talking about mental verbs in this video, and we're also talking about phrasal objects, basically a noun phrase that complements the verb. The problem with that is there is a specific structure that you need to follow if you're going to create a noun phrase successfully. So let's look at that. Here we have a dog on the left looking at a situation on the right. The dog on the left looks jealous, so he wants something. Is it the bone that he wants, or is it something else? What it looks like is the dog on the left is jealous. He doesn't just want the bone, he wants the bone the other dog has. That's the problem. It's not the bone, it's the fact that the other dog has a bone. That's jealousy. So ultimately he doesn't just want a bone, it's more complicated than that. We need to build a phrase to express what he wants. Let's have a look. Okay. The part in the second sentence, which is key, needs to be substituted for a relative pronoun so that we can create this phrase, and ultimately that is the bone, which is a thing we substitute with the pronoun what. This is how it works. I want, you've got a yummy bone, substitute yummy bone for what, becomes I want what you've got. It's not just the bone, it's what the other dog has. So the question is, what does the jealous dog want? What the other dog has got. Let's look at another example. This time the verb is recognize. Some animals can recognize something. They're looking at reflections in mirrors. So it's not just the word reflections, it's more complicated than that. So we build the sentence and we take the key information and substitute it for a pronoun. So we need to know what pronoun to use in substitution for reflections. So therefore, what does the green represent? It's an idea this time. A reflection can be considered a physical noun, but it's generally considered an idea. It's more complex than that. It's a concept, if you like, which we would substitute with the word what, the pronoun what. So this is how it works. Some animals can recognize what they're looking at in mirrors. Notice we've deleted reflections and substituted it with what, and now we've got a noun phrase. So the question is, what can some animals recognize? And the answer, what they're looking at in mirrors. Another example. Okay, the word is wonder. This guy must be wondering. He's missed the bus, so he needs to decide on one of these three methods perhaps. Run, skate, or take a cab. He's going to get to work on time by running, by skateboarding, or getting a cab. In English, if you use by with the gerund or ing form, what does it communicate? We need to know how can we substitute a by ing phrase in English. Let's have a look. What does the green represent? By ing represents a method, and therefore we use the pronoun how to connect the mental verb with the phrasal object, and here is how it works. This guy must be wondering how he's going to get to work on time. So notice we've substituted the by gerund phrase for the pronoun how, because how represents the method. So the question is, what must he be wondering? And the answer, how he's going to get to work on time. Let's look at another example. This one is get or don't get, which in English can mean understand or don't understand. Some people just don't get. For example, don't understand, it's the same meaning. And the other sentence, to drive, you use your coordination and awareness skills. That looks like the instructions or a method. How to conduct yourself in a car, a method. Alright, so we take the green information and we determine what it represents and what pronoun we can use to substitute it. Let's have a look. Once again, this is another way to communicate a method. So we need the pronoun how. Some people just don't get. How to drive. So the question is, what don't some people get? And the answer, how to drive. So you would use the pronoun how and the infinitive. That's a way to express a method as the answer to a question, or a phrasal noun, an object phrase if you prefer. Let's look at another example. Kids love. Candy tastes like fun. What does fun represent? Is it like a noun, verb, adjective, or adverb? What kind of word is fun? The green represents an adjective, and if you're substituting an adjective, we use the word how. Once again, we use how. And therefore, kids love how candy tastes. And the question would be, what do kids love? How candy tastes is the answer. How candy tastes is a noun phrase which complements the verb love, which is an emotional verb or an emotive verb, and it's a permanent verb. Once again, a mental or emotional verb complemented by a noun phrase. Okay, cats hate. This is another emotional verb. Vacuum cleaners sound frenetic and dangerous. We're going to substitute those words frenetic and dangerous. What are those words? What does the green represent? Once again, it's an adjective, so we're going to use how. how will substitute the adjectives. Cats hate. How vacuum cleaners sound. The question, what do cats hate? How vacuum cleaners sound. Okay, the word here is doubt, another mental verb. Doubt means you don't really think something's true, or you suspect that something might not be true. Some people doubt the earth is a sphere. This time it's different because the earth is a sphere is a complete sentence and nothing is being deleted. So what word can we use to connect a complete sentence to a mental verb? What does the blue represent? It's a complete sentence. In this case we use that. So if you're connecting a mental verb with a phrasal object, we use the word that. Therefore, some people doubt that the earth is a sphere. Okay, what is the question? What do some people doubt? The answer, that the earth is a sphere. You must begin the answer to this question with a pronoun. In this case, it's that. Okay, don't mind. Basically meaning I don't love something, but I don't hate it. I'm in the middle. I don't mind it. It's okay. A lot of people complain about it, but I don't mind. And the second sentence is airline food tastes alright. I need to take that sentence and create a noun phrase, which means I need to delete something. We're going to remove alright, which is an adjective. You might remember that if you delete the adjective and substitute it with a pronoun, the pronoun is how. So therefore, the sentence looks like this. A lot of people complain about it, but I don't mind. How airline food tastes. So the question is, what don't I mind? And the answer is how airline food tastes. So the verb mind and don't mind is a mental verb, and the complement phrase is often with how. How, subject, verb. How airline food tastes. The word prefer, mental verb. Basically, I'm making a decision and I've got a subject and an object, and I need to determine whether the subject or the object is my preference, something that I want more or like more than the other. So I think I prefer the red car looks awesome. I'm going to substitute awesome for a pronoun. What kind of word is awesome? The green represents an adjective. Therefore, we're going to use how to substitute. And it looks like this. I think I prefer how the red car looks. And the question, what does he prefer? How the red car looks is the answer. Another example. Okay, most English language students fail to recognize. So the word here is recognize, mental verb. They have to arrange their words correctly if they want to be understood. This is a complete sentence and nothing has been deleted. We don't need to substitute a subject or an object. We can just use the complete sentence and connect a complete sentence to the mental verb recognize. Therefore, what does the blue represent this time? It's a complete sentence, and we use that to connect a complete sentence to a mental verb. Therefore, most English language students fail to recognize that they have to arrange their words correctly if they want to be understood. And the question, what do most English language students fail to recognize? And the answer to a complex question, that they have to arrange their words correctly if they want to be understood. So you've got to be careful not to answer a complex question with a mental verb in principal position with a sentence. You need a pronoun at the beginning of your answer. Okay, here's another word, mental verb, illustrate. The graph illustrates information, Millions of people live in each country. So we've got China, India, USA, Indonesia, Brazil. Okay, we're going to substitute a quantity because millions of represents a quantity. Let's have a look. If you're substituting a quantity, we can use how much for uncountable and how many for countable. In this case, people are countable because 1, 2, 3 people, millions of people, that's a quantity, countable quantity. Therefore, the graph illustrates how many people live in each country. And the question, what does the graph illustrate? How many people live in each country? Okay, in English you can use the word see, can mean understand, and it can mean trying to figure out as well. So the driver is trying to figure out, the driver is trying to see, and she can get from San Francisco to Los Angeles along the coast by taking the Pacific Coast Highway. Remember, by ing represents a method. So the question is, what does this green represent? A method. Therefore you use the relative pronoun how to substitute that information. Remember, a by gerund phrase represents a method. Therefore, the driver is trying to see how she can get from San Francisco to LA along the coast, or back. Either way, it's the same road. So what is the question? What is the driver trying to see? How she can get from LA to San Francisco or San Francisco to LA along the coast. Can't recall or recall. It's like remember, when you need to remember some information. He can't recall, he can't remember. Same idea. His login details are ben567@yahoo.com/ben567. He can't remember these details. Okay, what does the green information represent? It's the information he can't remember. Therefore, we're going to substitute it with a pronoun. What is the correct pronoun? Have a look. This time it's a name or a login detail. It's a thing. So we use the word what to substitute that information. Therefore, he can't recall. What his login details are. And what is the question? What can't he recall? What his login details are. Notice there's a verb at the end of the noun phrase. That's perfectly normal in English. Okay, involves. This is a very important verb. Skateboarding involves a process. Most people are afraid of injuring themselves by falling onto concrete. So we need to substitute the gerund phrase, injuring themselves by falling onto concrete. What is this? What kind of information is this part? The green that's got the line through it. Let's have a look. It's an idea. So if you have a gerund phrase from the beginning, for example, injuring yourself, that is actually a noun phrase in itself. It's another way to create a noun phrase. Gerund phrase is a noun phrase. It's an idea, a concept. Therefore, we use the word what to substitute that information, and this is how it works. Skateboarding involves what most people are afraid of. And the question, what does skateboarding involve? And the answer, what most people are afraid of. Okay, demonstrating. The flight attendants are demonstrating something. It's some kind of procedure. So here it is. To evacuate the plane in an emergency, you walk to your nearest exit and slide down the ramp. That looks like instructions or a method. So let's have a look. What does this information in green represent? It's a method. Therefore, we use the pronoun how to substitute that information. Therefore, the flight attendants are demonstrating how to evacuate the plane in an emergency. And the question, what are the flight attendants demonstrating? How to evacuate the plane in an emergency. Okay, imagine or can't imagine. Obviously, that's a mind or mental verb. I can't imagine. It must feel like being a bird to fly. So being a bird, what kind of information is that, and what should we substitute it with? It's an idea, being a bird. Just like injuring yourself, being a bird is a gerund phrase which represents a noun phrase, and noun phrases are substituted with the pronoun what. So this is how it works. I can't imagine what it must feel like to fly. And the question, what can't she imagine what it must feel like to fly, is the answer. Okay, this is the last one. I need to figure something out. I need to figure out. Now the object of this phrasal verb figure out is going to be the noun phrase that we're going to build. So let's do it. I need to get green tomato salsa, onions and a chicken to make enchiladas. Now the ingredients are the part that I need to find on the internet. So I don't know that part. So I have to substitute that information for a pronoun. So what does the information green tomato salsa, onions and a chicken represent? They are things, they are physical objects, they are things, and we substitute things with what. So this is how it works. I need to figure out what I need to get to make enchiladas. And the question, what does she need to figure out? What she needs to get to make enchiladas is the answer to that complex question. Okay, take a screenshot of this mental verbs list. These are some of the most commonly used mental verbs that you could use in PTE speaking and writing tests, or IELTS speaking and writing tests, or just in general. If you take a screenshot of these, you can keep it on your phone and take it with you wherever you are. And just remember to watch this video again if you need to know how to complement them. Okay, and that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.